This year, the City of Atlanta made history, electing 4 members of the City Council who are openly part of the LGBTQ community. Liliana Bakhtiari, Keisha Waits, Alex Wan, and Matt Westmoreland now represent 1 in 4 of the Council's 16 members. Malik Brown, the director of the Mayor's Division of LGBTQ Affairs, sat down recently with each of them to discuss the impact of this important moment.
When you were first elected, you were the first openly gay man and the only LGBTQ person at the time. What does it feel like today, coming into a council chamber of 3 other LGBTQ people? How does that feel?
I feel like all the work that I've done over the last, it's 3 decades now. No, but seriously, in the LGBTQ community, has been around just championing all the principles and values that we've been trying to champion around equality. To have all 4 of us on here means that that work is starting to pay off, and that voices that are so critical to our process, voices in our community that have not been heard and have not been given the opportunity to express themselves and be part of the dialogue, are now part of the dialogue.
So when I look at your resume, particularly around nonprofits, there's a particular focus on youth. Can you tell me why you're so passionate about youth?
I just really appreciate and fundamentally believe that they're our future. I also feel like they are so much more receptive. They are open-minded, they are curious. Let's take advantage of that. Let's tap into that and show them that anything is possible.
Good morning, Councilmember Bakhtiari. You are in your freshman term as a council member. Can you tell us how that feels?
I'm still getting used to it. When people say council member instead of Liliana, it's still very confusing and surreal, but I love it. It's chaotic, which my past prepped me for. This is where childhood trauma comes into play in like a positive way. It makes you really good at functioning in chaotic environments. But suddenly having the ability to have resources and be connected to people who can like move mountains in the city is a tremendous privilege, and it's really exciting. With
this recent inauguration, we swore in 4 openly LGBTQ people. Can you tell us how that feels?
Well, it's really nice to have people who understand it and who understand the challenges, and also now it's more of a discussion with our straight colleagues who all seem very eager to be the best allies they can be. So getting to talk about that, also getting to talk about my own non-binary and gender fluid status, and I'm growing into that. I'm going to be going through a lot of changes over the next few years. And having this caucus on council makes me feel much safer doing so, because not a lot of people understand that identities are stackable. Not a lot of other people understand gender fluidity or feeling in between or struggles with gender dysphoria. So 1, it makes me feel seen and makes me feel safe to talk about it. But at the same time, it also is an opportunity to have these conversations in this environment and from this platform and make it something that's more commonplace and make people understand that this is like anybody has the possibility, no matter your identity, to hold a position like this. So we get to make this conversation more mainstream, which makes a lot of other kids feel seen.
Can you tell us the change in the state and the city that you've seen as far as tolerance and accepting, and even just where the LGBTQ community is versus when you started your service?
One of the changes that come to mind for me probably is when you look at our pride. I believe we probably have one of the largest pride celebrations in the country. And I've seen that grow over the years. And one of the things that I always talked about on the campaign trail is that my understanding of the needs and issues of the LGBTQ community don't come from reading the paper. I don't go to Pride to campaign. I celebrate Pride. I am Pride. And so it's a little bit different. And frankly, it's just seeing the evolution, having friends who were not as open-minded, having parents who were in fact homophobic, and watching them evolve over the years and their level of tolerance and the healing that's taken place in my family, I think is important. I have 2 siblings that are out. and open LGBTQ members. I had a brother that I lost several years ago in 1991 to the virus. And so hospital work is very dear and personal to someone like me. And so again, I get to wake up every day and live my truth and frankly to do work that I really care about. And so that's exciting.
You've touched on this, and especially in 2022, we talk a lot about intersectional identities. Can you talk about the intersection of being a Black woman and a member of the LGBTQ community and how that shows up in your work?
The way that I describe that is that I am no stranger to alienation. I am no stranger to being underestimated and overlooked. And so as a triple minority, being a woman, first being an African-American woman, and then certainly, having the tag of the stigma for some, being LGBTQ is tough. And that's not an easy walk.
So on the eve of your inauguration, you came out. It was shocking to some people and I think heartwarming to most. Can you talk about what that felt like in that process and how it's been since?
Honestly, I wrestled with that decision. The fact that the content was so personal, the desire to live in a world where such pronouncements aren't necessary, fear that people would look at who I chose to be with and that would somehow impact how they viewed me or my public service. But honestly, part of what drove me to do it was looking at students, like the ones I had taught at Carver or the ones across Atlanta who maybe have ever struggled themselves with being authentic and real and truthful, either with themselves or with others. And if my public statements can help them in whatever they might be struggling with, I thought that was something that I definitely wanted to do.
So there was something that you said in your coming out statement that to the effect of you hope to live in a world where people don't have to do this anymore. Can you just build on that and tell me what you meant?
I hope we one day live in a world where people don't really look twice at two guys as they're holding hands, just as hopefully they won't look twice at an interracial couple doing the same thing. We're not there yet. We've made a tremendous amount of progress. I'm living into and coming into a world that's very different than it was for people 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And I'm very fortunate about that. And I think we'll keep making progress.
Two, three.
We're here because once again, Atlanta is making history. We have opened up Unity Place, the first in the nation, one-of-a-kind housing for police recruits. So that's why we are here now. We are giving our recruits some place to stay, actually in one of our most vibrant communities. As we talk about community policing, we must give the officer a chance and opportunity to get to know the community. Once you're on call, once you're working, you really don't have that opportunity. But here now, at the beginning of their training, they have an opportunity to actually live amongst the neighbors, to actually live amongst the people that they will actually be protecting. So this is why it is very important. They're very excited about having the police officers in their neighborhood. First and foremost, it gives them a sense of security. And then once again, it also gives the neighborhood an opportunity to get to know the officer, because it goes both ways. The neighborhood has to know the officer as well as the officer knowing the neighborhoods. This is a catalyst. With everything, even with America being pioneers, we have shown and proven that this can work and will work. So now it gives other people the possibility to actually go off and do something different. Don't stop with the police. Don't stop with the police. We have firemen, we have teachers, we have public safety workers, public workers. So let's start this and let this be the catalyst for us moving forward, doing other great things throughout the city such as this.
This is a great opportunity for the City of Atlanta. The stakes are very high. And today, for me, means the opportunity to immediately get to work on those things that are important to all of us. I am particularly excited about the fact that we have some existing members who previously served. Although I'm not new to the legislative process, I am new to City of Atlanta government. And so certainly I will be leaning on existing members for mentorship and guidance.
All right, good morning, everyone. It is 10 o'clock. It's the regularly scheduled March 1st, 2022 meeting of the Atlanta City Council City Utilities Committee. I'm Howard Shook, Chair of the Committee. Should we have a roll call, please?
Bakhtiari. Good morning. Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari. Present. Councilmember Andrea L. Boone. Present. Councilmember Dustin Hillis. Councilmember Antonio Lewis.
Present.
Councilmember Alex Wine.
Present.
Councilmember Jason Winston.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum present.
Okay, thank you. Are there any voice voters today? Okay, excellent. I will be on F boardroom myself here in a matter of seconds. So, could we have the reading of the sacred words, please?
This City Utilities Committee meeting is being conducted remotely as advertised and as in accordance with the official code of Georgia 5014-1. The meeting will be conducted in conformance with Robert's Rules of Order and the Rules of Council as authorized by the City Code. The public may access the meeting by the following conference bridge: toll-free access 404-902-5066, conference ID 151945, which was noted on the Friday, February 25th public meeting notice. The public may also view the meeting on Channel 26, citycouncil.atlanta.gov, or the Council's YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter pages via at ATL Council. All presentations are available on the Atlanta City Council City Utilities Committee presentation page. The agenda was published and made available on Friday, February 25th via atlantacityga.iqmt.com. Public comment was accepted between the hours of 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. on yesterday, Monday, February 28th. All persons present on the presentation conference bridge are requested to mute your phones and speakers. Additionally, speakers must be acknowledged by the presiding officer prior to speaking. Each council member is requested to open your Outlook email and minimize the screen to view amendments, substitutes, and informational documents which were distributed to you earlier and may be distributed during the meeting. Thank you in advance for your cooperation.
All right, and thank you. Mr. Hillis, you're with us, correct? Is he muted, perhaps?
Can you hear me now?
Here.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Are you voice voting today? Are you
no, I'm online, and I guess I was muted before, but I've been online.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. There are no proposed walk-ins today or other changes to the agenda, and so I will move to adopt it as presented.
Second. Phyllis.
That's been moved and properly seconded. Let's open the vote.
The vote is open. Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
Okay, thank you. I will now move to approve the minutes of our previous meeting.
Second. Phyllis.
The vote is open.
Lewis, yes.
The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
Okay, thank you. And I believe we have 2 public commenters.
Yes, Mr. Chair, one moment.
Greetings, council members and staff. A special greeting to you citizens of Atlanta interested in how city government is working. Ben Howard, senior advocate, public policy analyst. It is said if one tells a lie often enough, some people will believe the lie. But what if someone tells the truth often enough? Will it matter? To tell the truth, it just might matter when the People TV contract expires on Wednesday, March 9th. To tell the truth, about a year ago in 2021, there were 10 vacancies on the People TV Board of Directors. 3 of those vacancies were to be filled upon recommendation of the members of the People TV Board. 4 of those vacancies were to be filled upon recommendation of the 15 members of the Atlanta City Council. 3 of those vacancies were to be filled upon recommendation of the office of the mayor. To tell the truth, in 2021, only 2 candidates applied for People TV Board consideration. A senior citizen and a younger person were recommended by the People TV general manager. To tell the truth, come 2022, there were still 9 vacancies on the People TV Board of Directors, and the senior citizens waiting for an up or down vote by the People TV Board of Directors. So why bother to incessantly tell the truth? Because there's a certain resiliency about truth when questioned. Even when questioned on the soil of the city of Atlanta, truth eventually shall rise, and the People TV story shall truthfully be told.
I am Brother Anthony Muhammad, a soulful spiritual being having a human experience. I ask this utility committed 100 block that has been set afire, that has been burned down almost 8 months. He has all kind of shelters set in the back that have been set afire. We have a house next to it that has been abandoned. Simply said, the code enforcement of Atlanta said it was in a flood drain. And yet, we have members coming out to remodel the house, and then it caught a fire, and we left with the conditions that I have described. But how long must we wait? You had council members, this Mayor Norwood, came to talk about the crime down in Buckhead. I can appreciate that, and I can feel the pain of the people. But why is it that I can ride down Butler Road month after month, week after week, day after day, and see the condition of this house that has been brought up in 2 houses right there together in bad condition. People just ride at night, passes by them, walking some of them. But this is in District 11, one of the most economic empowered areas of darker people in the city of Atlanta. But it's separated on one side of Camden Road, and on the other side is where the former mayor lives. On the right side, over here where I live, is where you got the average income workers live. And I bring these problems to you as a committee of the utility. What can you do about this? These are houses been going on with this condition for months. This is also Whitney Road. They're supposed to be micro service in 2017. Mr. Dickens said, as the Transportation Committee chairman, that he would. He sat on this utility committee. Now, what are we going to do now? Can't you collaborate and find ways to improve the conditions in District 11 on Butler Road for the benefit of the constituents that vote? I don't, Brother Anthony Muhammad, asking the like-minded ones, the will to want to represent the soul and put action to the word that come forth from my subconscious and make it known into the, I'm asking for the Caucasian. Show the love like you shown for Ukraine, for the benefits to be given on Butler Road, for the citizens that live in this.
That concludes public comment, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. As regards People TV, I asked that Ms. Coleman Tyler send in a sort of white paper that reflects the view of People TV board members, and use that opportunity to describe, mainly for the benefit of the new members as well as to refresh the returnees, as to kind of the history of what's brought People TV and current issues to where we are now and what they would like to see moving forward. I also reached out to the administration and was going to ask them to do the same thing, only to find out, to my gratification, that Ms. Harris, who's the television and technology director, has been in discussions with the COO about this very subject, and they are shortly to convene a what I would call a stakeholders discussion to go around the table and hear from various stakeholders as to what they would like to see moving forward, where can improvements be made, and so on. And People TV, I'm assured, will have a seat at that table. So I believe that's going to commence shortly. And so I'm looking forward to hopefully what will be a discussion that will put some of these issues kind of on final approach to resolution. If no one has any questions about that, then we can proceed to Watershed Management and their quarterly report.
One moment, Mr. Chair, while we bring up the presentation.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we're trying to confirm Commissioner Browning is on the line. I'm assuming she may have possibly gotten another call, but she should be speaking momentarily.
Okay, thank you. I could give it myself, but it would be a lot shorter than usual.
Councilmember, do you want to move on to the sounding of the first read?
I guess we'd better do that.
Okay, just until they're ready. Item number 1 is 22-0-1195. It's an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute the Second Amendment to Agreement RPS 1200455, annual contract for municipal solid waste with Republic Services of Georgia, Limited Partnership and Genesis Testing Services Incorporated, doing business as 3G&L Joint Venture, on behalf of the Department of Public Works, to authorize the payment of a rate of $41.14 per ton base rate for municipal solid waste disposal services, retroactively effective March 1st, 2022. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Item number 2 is 22-0-1196. It's an ordinance by City Utilities Committee to ratify services rendered in connection with Agreement FC 1190042, West Area Water Quality Control Facility Improvements with Heavy Sol, Wally JB, a joint venture comprised of Heavy Constructors Incorporated and Sol Construction LLC, beginning November 11, 2021, to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute the second change order to Agreement FC 1190042 to extend the term of the agreement retroactively effective from November 11, 2021 through January 7, 2023 at no additional cost on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management in accordance with Section 21163, subsection C of Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and for other purposes.
Thank you. Is the commissioner with us?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry about that. I was muted.
Understood.
All right, I'm ready if you guys are. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to update you on DW's progress during the second quarter of fiscal year 2022, which will cover the period of October through December 2021. Advancing to slide 3, this illustrates DWM's current departmental organizational chart. During this quarter, we welcomed our new Deputy Commissioner of Management Administration, Ms. Kathy Martin. Ms. Martin possesses over 30 years of public administration experience in both private sector and municipal government. She previously served as a Deputy Chief Procurement Officer with the City's Department of Procurement, and we are excited to have her back with the city and a part of DWM's leadership team. She will be responsible for oversight of a variety of administrative-focused teams. Advancing to slide 4, this highlights the department's progress by the numbers relating our core services and functions for the current reporting period. If you advance to slide 5, this provides an update regarding DWM's pandemic response. We've continued to navigate the pandemic environment, ensuring that we have adequate coverage for all shifts across our operations, which has allowed us to continue to deliver essential services. Quarter 2, non-mission critical employees continue to report on a hybrid schedule. To date, we've conducted roughly 207,000 non-invasive temperature screenings at a total of 14 of our facilities. We continue to ensure that our frontline workers have the proper PPEs to perform essential functions in a safe and protective manner. We implemented rapid testing at 2 facilities, Inglewood and City Plaza, testing 126 employees for the period. We continue to procure and closely track PPE needs and expenditures. Signage is posted at facilities to reinforce the importance of social distancing and mask wearing. And we're continuing daily touch-point cleanings and scheduled deep cleanings at all DWM facilities. Cleanings continue to be conducted within a 24-hour period upon notification of a positive or suspected case. Next, I'll cover the administrative and financial updates. If you can advance to slide 7. This provides an update regarding our personnel status. For the reporting period, DWM's authorized positions remain at a total of 1,609 positions. 1,350 are filled, and we have 249 vacancies. Our percent filled remains roughly 85%, with a vacancy rate of roughly 15%. We are continuing our headcount management efforts to closely manage and monitor our hiring approvals and vacancies. We continue to focus on filling mission-critical positions and continuing efforts to recruit talent for positions via career fairs and related recruitment events, external job postings, and DHR is supporting us with hosting hiring blitzes for our operational sectors. And we hired 20 agents to fully staff our customer care center within our Office of Customer Care and Billing Service to address customer issues and concerns regarding their water accounts and billings. We advance to slides 8 and 9. This provides a snapshot of quarter 2 fiscal year 22 financials. We're progressing well within budget, relating our O&M expenditures. As of December, our actual revenues are faring positive and are trending higher than projected, and expenses are within budget. If you can advance to slide 10, this provides a summary of our most revenues through December. Most revenues continue to trend steady and higher than projections and continues to also be a positive for the department. Advancing to slide 11, this provides an update regarding our collections efforts. We're continuing to focus on all of our 3 account types, commercial, residential, multifamily. During quarter 2 relating commercial accounts, a total of 1,103 proactive calls were logged. 84 installment plans were entered into. 359 door knockers were delivered. 130 delinquent commercial accounts were shut off for non-payment. And roughly $12 million in revenue has been collected for commercial accounts for the period of June through December. For residential accounts, over 8,500 proactive calls were logged, 874 payment plans were established, and $9.4 million delinquent revenues were collected. And lastly, for multifamily accounts, we logged 702 proactive calls, 16 payment plans were established, roughly $5 million delinquent revenues were collected. So we're continuing to make steady progress with our collections efforts. And going forward, I'm going to show the totals in a bar chart to better illustrate the total accounts and dollars for each account type. and accounts with outstanding balances so you can better see the trend in total month over month and year over year. I think this will provide a better view of the fluctuations across the accounts. Advancing to slide 12, this provides an update on DWM's Care and Conserve program. The program is charged with assisting single-family, low to moderate-income residential customers who are experiencing financial hardships with outstanding water bills and plumbing repairs. Advancing to slide 13, this provides a summary of bill payment plumbing assistance provided to customers for calendar year 2021, as well as the period in question. And as you're probably aware, DWM has confined or shut off commercial accounts for the past 10 months. The moratorium on commercial accounts was lifted at the end of March 2021. And the moratorium on residential accounts was lifted at the end of May 2021. However, DWM has paused on institute shutoffs for both residential and multifamily. We recognize, honestly, that each of the account types has unique operational and legal requirements. We spent the past several months carefully reviewing accounts with outstanding balances and the age of the arrears, and we're continuing to review those accounts to further determine which accounts are likely collectible versus those that are not. As a result, the commencement of shutoffs for single-family accounts will only commence after we complete a thorough analysis of the accounts and enact deliberate and well-coordinated process that will include the following. And so we're going to enact an amnesty period. It's currently scheduled to begin April 15th and will go through June 17th of this year. And this will allow customers who have past due balances to meet with DWM personnel in order to assess applicability of federal and state payment assistance programs. We can coordinate with field personnel to address any issues that DWM is responsible for. Give us an opportunity to obtain documented corrective actions, repairs made by customers to support a billings adjustment. We'll be able to relax late fees and assessment for accounts that are being addressed during the amnesty period. And we will look to institute recent updates to the code that allows for flexibility and consistency with regard to customer payment plans, billing adjustments, and account corrections. Advancing to slide 14, we're continuing to track customer accounts, identify those that may have been impacted by the pandemic. DWM continues to actively monitor potential federal and state assistance programs. We recognize that many customers have expressed a need for assistance, and we want to ensure that we identify available resources and funding to support our customers. As was mentioned in previous quarters, Congress has allocated funding for the creation of the Low-Income Household Water Assistance Program. $37 million has been allocated for the state of Georgia. And the purpose of the program is to specifically provide relief to water and wastewater customers who have been adversely impacted by COVID-19. The program provides bill payment assistance to avoid shutoffs and reconnections associated with non-payment, and with a max benefit of $3,500. The program is managed by the Federal Department of Health and Human Services and locally by the Georgia Division of Family and Children Services. And funds have been administered via the Atlanta Fulton County Community Action Authority. DWM's Care and Conserve program is tasked with tracking DWM customers who benefit from the program. The program commenced on November 1st of last year, and we executed our agreement with the state on November 30th. To date, 5 customers have benefited from the program with a total of $7,204 of assistance has been rendered. Unfortunately, the utilization of the program has been somewhat low. But as a result, DWM is developing enhanced communication through multiple channels, as well as with our funding partners to make sure that all customers are aware of the available resources. We recently issued a press release on February 9th of this year, and we'll be publishing information on the program on our website and upcoming bill inserts. DWM intends to stay actively engaged and advocate for federal and state funding available to support our customers in need. And we will continue to provide updates on the program and how it is benefiting our customers. Advancing to slide 15 provides a summary of the bipartisan infrastructure bill that was approved by Congress in fall of last year. There are several programs that can benefit the City of Atlanta and Department of Watershed Management. As discussed in the previous slide, the Low-Income Water Assistance Program We're taking full advantage of that. We look to get support from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and state revolving funds and grant opportunities that can aid in funding critical infrastructure improvements to support our 5-year CIP. And we submitted applications for consideration for grant funding, and we'll be submitting state revolving funds submittals to seek funding for priority green infrastructure, water distribution, stormwater, and consent decree projects. Next, I'll be covering operational highlights. You can advance to slide 21. I'm sorry, slide 17. Slide 17 provides an update on DWM's internal metrics. The next slide, 18, provides an overview of Office of Watershed Protection's SLA. They have an average of 90.6% for this quarter. We struggled a little bit in the erosion control inspections for commercial due to COVID impacts to the team. Our Office of Customer Care and Billing Services, that is on slide 19. The SLA for the period was 100%. So they did a very good job of staying within compliance and within SLA. And lastly, on slide 20, this provides an overview of Office of Living Infrastructure Operations SLA for the period, which was 92%. We're continuing to make some adjustments to crews that support valve and hydrant tasks. I think the recent hiring blitz will help to fill critical vacancies and add needed additional resources and crews to garner some positive improvements. Advancing to slide 21, this provides an update on OLEO's service requests. 41% of service requests were relating to the Sewer Collections Division, while 59% of service requests were relating water distribution. Advancing to slide 22, provides an update on our defective water meter lid suite. Citywide issues were expressed relating to defective water meter lids prone to breaks. Staff have continued to investigate the matter further and found that meter lids were prone to breaks and validated the complaints. Quarter 2, we replaced approximately 357 meter lids. Department of Law has reported 0 injury claims since we commenced efforts. We're continuing to sweep each council district on a quarterly basis. And staff have also focused on high traffic areas within the vicinity of major events where issues have been reported. Next, I'll cover our compliance efforts. Advancing to slide 24, happy to report that we experienced 0 NPDES violations for the period across our wastewater facilities. I'd like to extend a huge thank you to both our Office of Water Treatment and Reclamation and Compliance teams for their great work. As you know, compliance is a top priority for the department. Advancing to slide 25, this summarizes our sanitary sewer spills for the reporting period. We have a total of 47 spills were reported. We recorded 1 major spill for the period. 25 spills were averted because of our flow monitoring alert program, and we recorded 0 rain-induced spills for the period. Next, I will be providing updates on our capital improvements program. The advance to slide 27. Our current 5-year CIP is $1.31 billion and comprised of 120 projects. We are continuing to balance capital investments across our operations to ensure we're completing upgrades to our most critical assets to ensure long-term serviceability. The next slides highlight a few notable CIP projects, including updates on our water supply program, Upper Prospect Creek Capacity Relief Project, most funded stormwater project, our Northport Storage Tank Pump Station Capacity Relief Project, as well as the Entrenchment Creek WRC decommissioning and South River WRC clarifier upgrades. Advancing to slide 33, this provides look-aheads for quarters 3 and 4 and topics that I plan to cover and provide updates, and is mostly aligned with the CUC's 2022 goals and objectives for DWM that were published. Subject to your questions, this concludes my quarterly update. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Colleagues, questions or comments? Mr. Hillis, followed by Mr. Wan, followed by Ms. Booth. Mr. Hillis, here.
Thank you, Chairman Cip. Thank you, Commissioner Browning, for the presentation. First question is, what times are you typically seeing from HR to process a new employee? I see that there's 216 in progress.
TM Hillis, I don't have that number right offhand, but if you can allow me to confer with the team to get what the time frame is for onboarding, I can certainly get that information to you. I will say that based on my observations, things have been improving. We've been very engaged with the Department of HR and our departmental HR team, and so they've been working aggressively to try to get folks onboarded as soon as possible. But I can get you the definitive data to support what the current time frame is for onboarding.
Okay, definitely would appreciate that. The second question is, where are we? And I know you had one of your last slides kind of touched on a few of these, but where are we with advancing our stormwater projects? As you mentioned in one of your slides, most is kind of, I would say, blowing it out of the water every month with revenues higher than projected. And I know we had to get A&E contracts in place, and we just threw another $12 million at those. So where are we with advancing this massive number of stormwater projects across the city?
So we're progressing, CM Hillis. I recently met with our stormwater program team to review the prioritization of projects. We definitely want to maximize the number of projects that are addressed utilizing the available budgets available via our annual contract. Again, we're looking to seek state revolving funds to fund some of the more complex projects, more involved projects. And so upon meeting with the team, I think we've got a strategy for how we're going to move forward with prioritization of projects that we look to get accomplished this fiscal year and go on into fiscal year 2023. And I can definitely plan to provide an update during the next quarterly update on the stormwater program.
Okay, and if you could, I know it may take some time, but if you could just send, each district council member kind of the planned stormwater projects for the districts. If you already have those prioritized, the priority order, and just, if they're in progress or if you have a ETA on the start time, I think that would be appreciated by myself and my colleagues.
Absolutely. Consider that done.
Okay. Appreciate it. A few more questions. What is I know we touched on the outstanding past due amounts. What is the overall dollar figure of past due accounts? And if you could break that down into commercial, residential, and then multifamily.
I think the current amount, the current balance is roughly $136 million. I can certainly get that to you and members of the committee in a more granular level based on the account types. So I will plan to provide that to you.
Okay. And I heard you speak about the, I guess you call it a grace period or whatever. We're going to be implementing that and extending it into June, I believe.
Yes.
And then what's the plan after that?
I think we're going to, once we get through that amnesty period, we want to assess the impact, hopefully positive impacts of that period and customers that are brought into compliance and before, after assessing the success of that, strategize what the path forward is going to be. I do know we're working with the Department of Law to, again, take a really deep dive into all of the accounts and really trying to determine which accounts we feel are going to be collectible, which ones may be potential for write-off. And so we're going through that exercise right now. And I think we just have to just kind of chip away at this incrementally and just see how many accounts we can get into compliance and develop what the strategy forward is going to be.
Understood. Moving on to the SLA times, you did mention the erosion control finals on the commercials. They were in the mid 50s. SLA is 4 days. So was that because it was 5 or 6 days, or were we getting into holding people up for 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that?
I'm not sure of the actual metrics or what the actuals were for those erosion control inspections, so I can get that for you. But I think we're going to see some improvements for the upcoming quarter as the number of COVID cases are declining and staff are returning to work, healthy and ready to work.
Understood. And, of course, giving credit where credit is due. Great job by OCCBS on their 100% compliance with the SLAs. One that popped out to me, I usually pick on you all for hydrants, but I'm gonna let that speak for itself this time. Being chair of PSLA, what really sticks out to me is these street plate numbers. 14%, 0%, 25%, and that when I see that, I see lawsuits. You spoke about the meter lids. So where are we with getting these numbers on the readjust and replace street plates, at least into the orange, if not into the green?
Yeah, I think we're going to see some improvements for the next quarter. I've definitely honed in on that and echo your sentiments. The numbers are not stellar. We're going to be working with the team. Olio as well has had some impacts due to COVID within the restoration team, the plate team. So I think we'll see those numbers rebound for the next quarter.
All right. Good to hear. I will leave it there, and we'll look forward to the follow-ups and defer to my colleagues now. Chairman Cip. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner. I'm going to follow up on Councilmember Hills' questions regarding the collections on slide 11. So I'm guessing that the $136 million total, I can't piece that together from any of the numbers that are here already. Is that correct?
That is correct, and I do plan to provide a table that shows what the arrears are based on the account types. And again, going forward, I'll look to include a bar chart that'll more clearly show, again, kind of month over month, year over year, the fluctuations and the arrears accounts.
Okay, thank you. And if in that analysis or presentation, you could also break out aging account delinquencies by time, that would be, I think, illuminating as well. So I appreciate your going back and compiling that. The only other question I have is regarding the vacancies. So when I look at slide 7 and I see the vacancy rate, not the recruitment process notwithstanding, overall 15.5%, let's say. If I were to cross-reference that against slide 3, your org structure, obviously the 15.5 is across the entire department, but if you were to map that out per each one of your offices and the offices, is there any one or two that skew that in one direction, that may be higher than the 15.5% where you're seeing concentrated vacancies?
I would say the concentration of vacancies, Councilman One, are in our operational division. So it's our Office of Water Treatment and Reclamation and Office of Linear Infrastructure. Again, we've been focusing on mission critical positions, and that's where those positions primarily reside.
This is just, again, I feel like this was a recurring challenge last time I was here, but it sounds like it hasn't really improved in terms of just candidate pool and the like. Is that correct? Or is there something else that you're seeing now?
It's a competitive job market. we're losing some of our talent to other fellow municipal agencies. So we're definitely working with the Department of HR to make sure that our salaries are competitive. And then from that standpoint, it's a matter of retaining talent. And so we're also leveraging some of our professional organization memberships to launch the job bulletins out to a different kind of pool of candidates that we probably wouldn't normally reach. So we're utilizing our LinkedIn page. Obviously, we use the city's job portal and Indeed, but we're just kind of stratifying how we try to pull in talent into the department.
I'm glad you brought up retention. So when we're losing employees to other municipalities, is it mostly on compensation, or is there anything else that you've noticed as well?
It's mostly compensation. I mean, you still have a couple of agencies that offer a pension, and we don't anymore. And you have, all the agencies are kind of watching each other, so they're watching what our hourly rate is or our salary ranges are, and they're up in their game, and so we're going to continue to do the same.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, ironic that's a water department, but to the extent that we're focusing on recruitment, it doesn't matter if you're adding them, and so long if you're losing them on the back end, it's going to be a constant battle. So I appreciate the fact that y'all are looking at that as well. Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say another thing we're trying to do is just create kind of a rolling pool of candidates that we can just kind of refer to. If we end up losing a couple, we've got a rolling pool of candidates that we can reach out to and engage their interest in joining the team.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Those are all my questions.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Boone, you had originally asked to speak, and you were third in line, and your picture went away, and now it's back. So if it's okay with Mr. Lewis, I'm going to go ahead and recognize you.
Mr. Chair, this is Councilmember Boone.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to quickly thank the Commissioner for her dedication and diligence in dealing with the West Division and the community group with a vision. They have had flooding issues for several years. Her team went up, met with them on multiple occasions. And Commissioner, just wanting to know what is the time frame on that comprehensive plan for the South Morton, Beecher, Ferris, and Canonia Drive area?
So thank you for that question, Councilmember Boone. We recently met with the Westview community a couple of weeks ago. We met with them. We did a site visit with them, I think, in fall of last year, and had a follow-up conference call with them. And so our technical team has been reviewing all of our data based on those site visits. And based on the recent call that we had with the community stakeholders, we kind of gave them an overview of our findings and what our recommendations are in the form of solutions to help address the flooding in the area. It was a very productive call. We were able to get additional feedback and information from the community stakeholders. And there are additional things that we need to investigate and look into. So we gathered that information and are continuing to process it and look into it and help to refine some of the recommendations that we currently have on the table. But so once we come to an agreement on what the proposed solutions are, we're definitely going to try to get to completion of our assessment, hopefully at the end of this month. And then from that standpoint, we'll be able to develop a package of improvements, and it'll likely have to be a phased approach to addressing the improvements in the area. But I would say we look to have the improvements completed within a 12-month period from once we complete determining what the final solutions are. So if we complete our analysis by the end of March, we'll work to determine what's going to be the best contracting vehicle procurement to get the necessary work done, depending on the degree of work. But we would definitely try to look to get that matter addressed within a 12-month period.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Thanks, and to your team.
Not a problem.
Okay, thank you for waiting, Mr. Lewis. You're up.
So my question was, do you think you have enough employees to fulfill the requirements for the entire city?
Hey, thank you for that question, Sam Lewis. We're making do with what we have. I mean, certainly we could stand to add more crews to different areas, and so we're not underperforming as a result of the current grouping that we have or population of employees that we have. But certainly, in order to get to full bandwidth and to be able to cover our bases more efficiently, we definitely would need to look to fill many of those vacancies of the mission critical positions as possible.
Thank you. And I have one more question, a follow-up question. What's the typically when you're understaffed, where you to meet the entire city, what's the morale? We never really talk about public sector worker morale. So what's the morale in the watershed department right now when they're so stretched?
That's a good question. I mean, I would like to say that our morale is fair. Definitely I appreciate all the hard-working men and women that support our department and they're providing services to customers. Every quarter I've been having an employee appreciation luncheon just to, congratulate and just pay homage to our employees. And, we just really try to focus on collecting from a management level, just making sure that we're keeping an eye on employees. I know this has been a really tough time, having to continue to provide services through the pandemic. It's not been easy. Folks are dealing with both professional and personal matters. But I would like to say that it's fair. And I try to gauge that based on the number of complaints that I get. I honestly don't get a lot of feedback on poor morale. Just different individual matters or issues, personnel issues that have come up, and we really try to work to address those as speedily as possible, HR. But, staff knows that I think the world of them and am highly appreciative of them. And so, making sure that they're as happy as possible and content, and making sure that we're fostering a positive and professional and productive work environment is top of mind for me.
Thank you, Commissioner.
No problem.
All right, thank you. Perhaps I'll be batting cleanup here. I'll try to blast through my questions. Commissioner, were there any units of yours that were hit particularly hard by COVID, as was and perhaps still is the case with the solid waste employees?
I think the bulk of our, thank you for that question, Chairman Shook, it really affected our operational groups, Office of Linear Infrastructure Operations, and Office of Water Treatment and Reclamation. That was mainly at the onset of the pandemic. And I think I can kind of gauge how things are external to Watershed, just, based on our employee population. But, with the numbers going down, I've seen, employees return to work healthy and ready to get back engaged. And, again, it hasn't adversely affected our ability to provide service. But definitely our operational divisions were primarily the most hit.
Okay. And then in the past, we had a sustained problem regarding people who were operators in plants. And then the council at that time took steps to increase the compensation. Are things better in that regard?
Yes, we met with union reps on yesterday, and I think we settled on a resolution that I think all parties can live by and are happy with. And so we managed to address those workers, I think, completely their issues and concerns.
Okay, thank you. A past audit showed that the city was losing, through the various parts of its water distribution system, an awful lot more water than most utilities. And so I'm requesting that in your next report, you give us an update on how you're tightening that system up. Is that fair?
Absolutely. I'll plan to give you an update on our water loss audit. Yep.
Okay. So outstanding balance, $136 million. Is there a utility industry standard that we can compare that to?
I recently asked that question with the team. We're actually doing some benchmarking. I have not been able to, and I think we got to compare apples to apples based on our utility. So I'm looking to, I actually had just asked for that figure. So I will get that to you once we hone in on an appropriate figure that would be a benchmark for us.
Okay. And then in years past, from time to time, whenever this becomes a hot topic, council is provided with a list of who owes the most, residential and commercial. It's been a while since I've seen one of those. I would ask that your staff prepare and distribute to council such a list. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yes, I remember we provided, I think, previously a top 50 list for each account type across. Yep, we can absolutely get you an updated listing for each council member.
Okay, thank you. Sewer spills per 100 miles compared to water main breaks, and sewer spills are higher than water main breaks, which suggests it's maybe not a issue of pipe ruptures. But what do we need to know why those two numbers are different?
The bulk of the spills have been due to debris in the system, and I've been monitoring those stats pretty closely. And what we need to do is a preventive maintenance program in order to drive down the number of sewer spills. So I'm working with our Office of Linear Infrastructure to try to reassess and re-strategize how the preventive maintenance program is progressing and addressing inspection and cleaning of our sewers, really kind of focusing on the areas that are prone to spills, and the areas where there's chronic spills, repeat spills, looking to do the necessary sewer improvements, advancing some of those projects in order to drive down spills.
Okay. New leak work orders seem to be significantly up, but what can you tell us about that?
I think it's the product of an aging system. Obviously, we want to make sure the system is as tight as possible. I think making sure that we're progressing our valve exercise program is going to help that. Obviously, continuing the progress of renewal and replacement of our most critical water main sources. Those are all things we're going to look to tackle over the next, 12 to 24 months to really ramp up those efforts in order to button up the system and mitigate increases in those areas.
Okay, lastly, I would ask that in your next report, unless you've already done it here, and I just wasn't quick enough to catch it, as regards fire hydrants being in or out of service, if it's not already here somewhere, could you please include the percentage of the system's hydrants that are, functional or need work compared to needs work?
So it's on Slide number 17, internal metrics, percent of total hydrants functional.
Okay.
Very last.
Oh, there it is right there. 99%. And is it up to the fire department to alert you to a hydrant that needs work?
AFRD notifies us, as well as citizens notify us through service requests.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you for pointing that out. That concludes my questions. College, is there anyone else? I'm not seeing anyone. Okay, going once, going twice. Sold. All right, Commissioner, thank you for your excellent report.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
All right, Ms. Kempson-Wright, please dispense with our first reads.
Yes, moving to second reads, item number 3 is 22-011-18. And we've been asked to take this with items 5 and 7. It's an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2022 Water and Wastewater Extension Fund budget. To anticipate and appropriate funds from the Georgia Department of Transportation in the amount of $11,832,039.0 to transfer and transfer watershed reserve funds in the amount of $15,549,333.98 for the Old Alabama 48-inch water main relocation project and for the purposes. Item number 5 is 22R3231, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor to enter into an actual cost utility agreement and memorandum of understanding with the State of Georgia Department of Transportation on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for the purpose of adjusting water infrastructure that is in conflict with the Department of Transportation's design, build, finance, operate, maintain project. Project indicator number 001757, State Route 400 for express lane expansion from North Springs MARTA Station to McFarland Road in Fulton County and Forsyth County, Georgia. An amount not to exceed $14,790,048.75. And item number 7 is 22R3233. It is a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an agreement for RPC 122-0121 Old Alabama Road 48-inch water pipe relocation design, build, and construction with Rudy Collins Incorporated on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for a term to commence from the date a notice to proceed is issued for a period of 365 calendar days for substantial completion and 395 calendar days for final completion, and an amount not to exceed $11,598,525.0. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for the purposes.
All right, thank you. Mr. Paparo, if you're with us, please sort this out for us.
Chairman Shook, can you hear me? Good morning, sir. Chairman Shook and council members. Hope everyone's doing well. This is Rob Bacaro, Department of Watershed Management. Thank you for considering items 3, 5, and 7 together. This is by background. Georgia DOT intends to construct a major design, build, finance, operate, and maintain project that has the project number PI 0001757. The project involves the SR 400 express lane expansion from the North Springs MARTA station to McFarland Road. The express lane expansion will address congestion and form a connected tolled express lane system between SR 400 and I-285. The Georgia DOT project conflicts with an existing 48-inch water transmission main located within the right-of-way of SR 400. So in order for the Georgia DOT project to proceed, we need to relocate the City of Atlanta's 48-inch water main in several locations between Riverside Road and Holcomb Bridge Road. In collaboration with Georgia DOT, a design-build project is required for the design and construction to relocate approximately 5,300 linear feet of 48-inch diameter water transmission main onto Old Alabama Road between Marketplace Boulevard and Riverside Road under the jurisdiction of the City of Roswell. This pipe needs to be placed, the relocated pipe needs to be placed in service by the end of April 2023 so as not to delay the express lane project. For the purpose of, so there's three items of legislation. So firstly, 220118 is to fund the Old Alabama Road 48-inch water main project in the amount $15,549,333.98. The project consists of the following items: the design-build contract costs, the pre-purchased pipe material costs, and contingency costs for engineering and unforeseen utility conflicts. The good news is that Georgia DOT will reimburse the city 80% of the design-build contract costs, or $11,832,039. The Department of Watershed Management will provide the remaining 20% of the design-build costs. The second item, 5 or 22R3231, the purpose of that legislation is to authorize the mayor to enter into an actual cost utility agreement and memorandum of understanding with Georgia DOT on behalf of Watershed Management. So this agreement and MOU will adjust the watershed's facilities as part of the Express Lane project in an amount not to exceed $14,790,048.75, and to enable the department to be reimbursed by the state of Georgia DOT for 80% of the eligible costs to relocate the facilities. The eligible costs under this agreement consists of the contract RFPC 1220121 base contract and costs for the City of Atlanta furnished materials purchased in advance of the contract. The final part of the legislation under item 7 or 22R3233 concerns the contract. So the city advertised RFPC 1220121 Old Alabama Road 48-inch water pipe relocation design, build and construction project on behalf of the department to solicit bids for the services. Following review and evaluation of the proposals submitted in response to the solicitation, Ruby Collins, Inc. was determined to be the most responsive and responsible offerer. It is recommended that the design-build contract be awarded to Ruby Collins for a term of 365 days for substantial completion and 395 days for final completion in an amount not to exceed $11,598,525. The total contract value consists of the base contract amount of $11,470,095 plus an alternative to design and construct some of the pipe alignment into an existing Georgia Power easement between SR 400 and Old Alabama Road in an amount of $128,430. Just to bring to your attention that there is a iPro report that's included with the legislation. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis, you're recognized. muted. Mr. Lewis has indicated that he'd like to be recognized. Mr. Lewis, are you with us? Have you been muted, perhaps?
No, I just didn't take it down.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so we need to amend Resolution 3233, which is item 7, by attaching the IPRO report. Before I make a motion to do so, I do have a couple of questions regarding said report. Is there someone from IPRO on the line with us?
Good morning, Councilmember Shook. This is Michael Jones.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so I have questions about. It's clean. Yeah, there were kind of two comments that I want to ask you about. One was a missing initial on a document. Procurement's response was that failure to initial the form was waived as a minor technicality. So just to remind me and inform others, am I right that procurement does have the authority to deem, such an issue minor and thus waive it?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. It's good that you pointed it out, however. So there was a watershed employee who sat in on the scoring sessions, and there was a question as to whether that person had the credentials to do so. Watershed responded that the person did not need to be certified as being part of the discussion. Are they correct?
We don't agree with that. We believe that anyone that's attending the collaborative scoring session needs to go through the same process as every evaluator. Now, the policy does have a provision for an expert to not participate, but to sit in on the discussion, but that person needs to be identified. But in this case,
even if they're not part of the scoring?
We expect them to be included go through the evaluation process.
Okay. I would recommend that your office consider legislatively tightening this up to remove any gray area. Let me ask you this. Is this the first time you've seen this issue arise?
No, this has happened periodically. And usually DOP responds with the department liaison is typically the one attending the scoring session, but we feel that the DOP standard operating procedures requires anyone attending the collaborative scoring session to go through the same process.
Okay. Well, I would invite you to draft legislation that would tighten up any ambiguity here. Hand it to me. I'll be happy to read it in. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. With that, I will move that we add the IPRO report to 3233.
Second, Winston.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any questions as to the amendment? I don't see any, so let's open the vote.
Vote is open. Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The amendment is before you.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Shook?
Yes, sir.
This is Michael Jones again. I wanted to clarify. The Inspector General wanted to be clear that it should be DOP clarifying the rules.
Okay, and is there a DOP representative on the line?
Mr. Chair, we're trying to confirm, but we don't believe so.
No, that's fine. Keep trying, please, so we can perhaps wrap this up. However, the motion's been made and seconded and approved to add the iPro report as written. So I will now move approval of all three items with 3233 having been amended.
Second, Hillis.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, let's open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. These three items are favorable.
Okay, thank you. Next.
The next item is item number 422R3230, a resolution by City Utilities Committee to amend Resolution 21R3676, adopted by the Atlanta City Council on September 7, 2021, and approved by operation of law per City Charter Section 2403 on September 15, 2021, to correct the funding stream to reflect the correct account from which contracted work will be charged to and paid from, for invitation of bid C1210227, maintenance agreement for permeable pavers with Ad Castro Landscape Incorporated on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management, to authorize the mayor and his designee to execute the First Amendment to the agreement, to amend the not to exceed amount to $800,000.00 for the initial term of the agreement and for other purposes.
Mr. Hill.
Hello?
Hello, Michelle.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. The purpose of this legislation is to correct the funding stream for Resolution 21-R-3676, the authorizing legislation for IFBC-1210-227, which inadvertently included an incorrect account number in the approved funding stream, 170215. DWM Environmental Management should have instead been included as 170613 DWM Environmental Management. Legislation will also authorize execution of the First Amendment to the contract to increase the not to exceed amount consistent with the originally intended not to exceed amount of $800,000. The initial term of the contract is 2 years, with each year of the contract in a not to exceed amount of $400,000. 4 miles of permeable interlocking concrete pavers roads were installed in the Peoplestown, Mechanicsville, and Summerhill areas of Atlanta for the purpose of alleviating flooding issues in these neighborhoods. This provided a 4 million gallon capacity relief to the combined sewer system. This legislation will allow the
Department of Watershed Management to have a contracting mechanism for needed maintenance annually and allow for the resetting of pavers in the event of under-roadway infrastructure failure or to connect existing water and sewer lines during construction to ensure the project's long-term success. This project has a 40% minority business enterprise participation and a 15% female-owned business enterprise participation. I'm open to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. And colleagues, are there any? Mr. Lewis.
Thank you for giving us the minority percent. Are you able to meet the 40%? Are you able to actually hit the amount, or how far? If you were falling short, how far short?
This contractor has other contracts with the city and has consistently met our MBE and FBE requirements. He has also been very agreeable to participating with workforce development opportunities that come available for local residents. And so I feel very confident that he can meet these requirements.
Thank you.
All right. I'm not seeing anyone else in the queue. So I'll make a motion. Second. Let's ring it up.
One moment. The vote is open. Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Bassiari? Yes. Thank you. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
All right. Thank you. Before we move on to the next item, I understand that Mr. Clark's on the line. Mr. Clark, are you, in fact, with us?
Good morning. Yes, this is Martin Clark.
Okay. Good morning. I'm not sure if you're familiar with why we were wanting to hear from you in regards to an IPRO report. The IPRO team is of the opinion that anyone who is involved in the scoring, in the evaluation process, needs to be approved by the CPO, and there may be others who disagree with that. I'd like to have, and also the IPRO representative reported that this is something that comes up again and again, and so what I asked them to do was provide me with a draft legislation that would remove any ambiguity about this issue. So I just would like to hear your comments on that.
Absolutely, and I appreciate the venue and opportunity to speak to this. I think in the past, IPRO appears to have continuously come back with these findings with regards to individuals that are facilitating or are present in the evaluations that are there to assist. They don't they don't score it. They're non-scoring individuals that are there to assist or to be a resource. And so I think there may be some confusion as to, at least certainly, what they're there for. They don't score these items and are there to assist. I think on a previous finding, Chair Shook, I think they may have, I believe, mentioned somebody that was there who was the actual facilitator and contract specialist. But again, I don't see why those facilitators cannot be there to assist and answer questions to make sure that we have the best outcome from these solicitations, Chair Shook. But I'll definitely, review and be available to answer any of the iPro team's questions on this issue.
Okay. I appreciate that. So it seems clear to me that it's not a matter of confusion, but just simple disagreement. Here's my point of view. I just don't want counsel to get whipsawed, with a kind of a continuation of this disagreement. So I'm going to ask that procurement and the iPro team try to work this out. And if it takes a legislative remedy to make everyone happy, then, so be it. I'll be happy to introduce anything that such a conversation produces. Is that fair?
I appreciate that. I will certainly make every attempt to communicate with them in a manner that will not require any legislation, Chair Shook. Again, this is, I think, more than likely a procedural issue, and I definitely would appreciate the insights on why they would not want to have folks that are there to facilitate and respond to questions. But again, we will be more than open and willing to communicate with the iPro team, sir.
Okay, iPro, comments?
Councilmember Shook, thank you for the opportunity to speak again. One of the primary reasons why we feel it's important for everyone participating in the collaborative scoring session is a part of that is a part of the conflict of interest. We do conflict of interest testing on the evaluation team. And if you have someone that may have a conflict of interest attending the collaborative scoring session, and that can be a problem. So that's the primary reason why we think it's problematic for anyone not listed on the original CPO's memo attending the collaborative scoring session.
Okay, well, thank you for confirming that it's not a confusion, it's a simple disagreement. Do you have any aversion to sitting down with Mr. Clark and seeing if this can be worked out?
No problem whatsoever.
Okay, well, thank you for that, and I appreciate y'all's willingness to try to hash this out and come back to us as needed. So, thank you. Ms. Kempson-Wright, let's mush on.
Item number 6 is 22R3232, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the City of South Fulton, Georgia, on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for the purpose of adjusting water and sewer facilities that are in conflict with the City of South Fulton's pedestrian improvement project, State Route 279 National Highway from State Route 138 Jonesboro Road to County Road 1391 Flat Shoals Road, in an amount not to exceed $68,091.62. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for the purposes.
Was this not included in our prior block?
No, only items 3, 5, and 7, and so we still had 4 and 6, and this is our last item.
Okay. Is this Mr. Baccaro?
Yeah, Rob Baccaro, Department of Watershed Management. A little bit of background on the legislation. The City of South Fulton is sponsoring a pedestrian improvement project along Old National Highway from Jonesboro Road to Flat Shoals Road. The proposed project includes constructing 5 to 6 8-foot wide sidewalks with a 2-foot stamped concrete beauty strip on both sides of Old National Highway. Watershed Management has existing facilities that present a utility conflict with the City of South Fulton project. As a result, Watershed Management scope of work includes adjusting, relocating, and replacing 9 fire hydrants, 26 water valve boxes, 11 water meter boxes, and a fire and 1 fire hydrant to accommodate the project. The legislation is to request the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the City of South Fulton and to appropriate funds in the amount not to exceed $68,091.62 for construction services related to the pedestrian improvement project. I'm available to answer any questions.
Colleagues, questions or comments? I don't see any. I will move approval.
1 second.
All right. Questions, comments? Seeing none, let's open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
And because we're so efficient, we have no held papers and there's no walk-in legislation. Colleagues, any comments for the good of the body? Seeing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you.